I've come across a lot of organizations and associations in my time that generally say that what their purpose is to better professionalize certain industries or certain work groups. And it's always interesting to see how these associations define better professionalizing their industry. Because see, when you look at a lot of the associations and you look at how they're going about doing that, a lot of it revolves around educational programs that basically teach technical skills. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but really and truthfully, technical skills are things that can be basically taught to anybody. And with that being said, people that work in different industries should be proficient in the skills in which that industry requires. But does skill attainment and better defining your skill set, does that really make you more professional? And I think there's a disconnect there, because somebody can be good at what they do and not really be viewed as a professional by other people outside of that industry or even within that industry. See, professionalism really has very little to nothing to do with the skill set and the knowledge that somebody actually has and the things that they can actually do. Professionalism, on the other hand, has more to do with mindset. It has more to do with vision, mission, and even purpose, and what they're trying to do for the people that they actually come in contact with and work with. If you're out here simply taking part in a job because it is a means in which you can achieve more wealth, does that make you more professional? I would dare to say it doesn't. When we think about somebody and something that is more professional, we think about industries and we're thinking about individuals and companies that go out of their way to make a positive impact on those that they interact with, to those that they work with. It really has nothing to do with skill attainment, even though that is important in its own right, but not so much in the scope of professionalism. So if you have an entity that's looking to better professionalize an industry or a work sector, how is the best way to do that? The best way to do that is to put together leadership development programs, because everything rises and falls on leadership, primarily professionalism. A true leader will know what it means to be a professional, and they will go to great lengths to ensure that everything that they do and everything that their organization does and all of their workers will be to establish and maintain and improve their level of professionalism. See, a professional also knows there's an importance in taking part in skill development opportunities. But a true professional also knows that skill attainment won't get you there, that you have to invest in leadership. You have to have a vision for your company and what you're trying to achieve. They also know that in order to be a professional, you have to plan for the future, and that involves taking part in leadership succession planning. And that's a topic that a lot of people, particularly executives, have a hard time really discussing, even though they'll say it's important. See, leadership development is critical regardless of the size of your organization or the business that you're in, or even the industry that you're in. And sometimes what we see is that some of your smaller businesses may say that, okay, I'm too small. I really don't need to invest in leadership development. Or I'm a mom and pop type organization. I don't really need leadership development, or I really don't need to have a leadership succession plan because I'm going to transition the business to my kids. I would dare to say that those operating in those small organizations, you have a lot more to risk by not taking part in leadership development and succession than your larger organizations do. On the same time, You also have a lot more to gain by taking part in those initiatives. See, the backbone of our nation from an organizational standpoint is small business. Most of our businesses out there are classified as being small. Leadership development and leadership succession is vital to every single one of those small businesses. And it also goes a long way to improving the level of professionalism that every single one of those organizations operate in. So, when you look at an entity, whether it's an organization or whether it is an association, and part of their mission claims that they're trying to better professionalize their respective industry, take a look at what they're doing in terms of leadership, because that is what's going to drive that momentum forward. That is what's going to push that needle in the direction in which they really want to go. If you don't invest in leadership development, if you don't invest in succession planning and those type of leadership initiatives, your professionalism in that industry or even in that organization is going to be lacking. And that's the sad truth, though. So what are you doing in your organization or even in your association to push things forward to truly reaching a new heightened level of professionalism? Not just one that's going to last today, but that one that's going to create a legacy and will be remembered far after you're gone. What are you doing to achieve that level of memorable professionalism?